Hey, sit quietly for a moment. Take a slow breath. I know there are things in your life that still don't fully make sense to you. Moments you still think about. Losses you still question. Changes you never expected. Prayers that seemed unanswered. And if you're honest, there are days when your heart quietly wonders, why did things happen this way? Why did life become so different? Why did certain doors close? You've tried to understand it, tried to make peace with it. But some parts of your story still feel unfinished in your heart, still confusing, still painful at times. But listen to this is not random. God is speaking to you right now, and He's saying everything will make sense soon. Take a deep breath, and let those words rest gently in your spirit. God says, I know you've spent a long time searching for answers, trying to understand why certain people left, why certain dreams changed, why certain seasons became so difficult. And I know the uncertainty has weighed heavily on your heart, because human hearts naturally want understanding. You want to know why things unfolded the way they did. You want clarity, peace, closure. God says, and while you may not see the full picture, yet there is a bigger story unfolding than you can currently see. God says there were things I protected you from that you never knew about. There were directions I redirected you from for reasons you could not yet understand. And there were moments when what felt like disappointment was actually guidance. God says, I know there are seasons of your life that still feel painful when you think about them. The losses, the loneliness, the changes that reshaped your world, and sometimes you wonder if those wounds will ever fully make sense. But hear me gently, one day you will see how every season shaped you. How every difficult chapter prepared your heart in ways you didn't realize at the time. God says nothing in your life has been meaningless. Not your tears, not your waiting, not your quiet seasons, not even the moments that felt broken. I have been weaving purpose through all of it. God says, I know it's hard to trust when you don't have clear answers, especially when life feels uncertain, especially when prayers seem delayed, especially when your heart feels tired from waiting. But please remember this, just because something doesn't make sense today does not mean it never will. God says sometimes understanding arrives slowly. Sometimes clarity only comes when you look back years later and finally realize that's why it happened. That's why that door closed. That's why life led me here instead. God says there are things your heart will understand later that your mind struggles to understand right now. Because healing changes perspective. Time changes perspective. Peace changes perspective. God says, I know there were moments when you felt forgotten. Moments when you thought your life had become smaller or less meaningful. But even in those quiet seasons, I was still working, still guiding you, still shaping your heart gently. God says this chapter of your life is not without purpose. Even if it feels slower, even if it feels uncertain, even if it feels quieter than before, there is still meaning here, still beauty here, still peace being formed inside you. God says you are becoming wiser in this season, softer in some ways, stronger in others, more aware of what truly matters. And that growth is part of the reason for this chapter. God says, please stop believing that your pain was pointless. It wasn't. Even your hardest seasons carried lessons, strength, compassion, and deeper understanding. God says one day you will notice that the things which once confused you no longer carry the same heaviness. You will see how certain losses opened the door to peace. How certain endings protected your heart. How certain delays prepared you for something gentler. God says, I know waiting for clarity can feel exhausting, but you do not have to figure everything out today. You do not have to carry every unanswered question alone. I am already carrying the bigger picture for you. God says, rest your heart a little. Stop trying to solve every part of your story right now. Some understanding takes time, and some peace arrives before the answers do. God says, I want you to trust me in this season. Not because you understand everything, but because I have never stopped guiding your life, never stopped loving you, never stopped walking beside you. God says, and even now there are still beautiful moments ahead of you, still peaceful mornings, still healing conversations, still quiet joys waiting to find you. Your story is not over. God says one day you will look back on this season with softer eyes, and you will realize something beautiful. What once felt confusing was quietly leading you toward peace. God says so. Breathe deeply today. Release the pressure to understand everything immediately. Trust that clarity will come. Trust that healing will come. Trust that peace will come, because it will. God says everything will make sense soon. And until then, I will stay beside you through every uncertain moment, guiding you gently one step at a time. If this message spoke to your heart, type GODIS guiding Emmy in the comments. And remind yourself today, even when life feels confusing, you are still being led toward peace.